Well, welcome, welcome. We will go ahead and get started. I am so excited to be here with you today, and I am anytime I get to come and share with you all. However, this time of year and the topics that we'll be exploring this week and next week, kind of in alignment with this late autumn Samhain time, are some of my most favorite. So yes, very extra excited to be here with you as we enter this sacred season of late autumn, traditionally honored as Samhain. And on InnerSpark's Wheel of the Year, we connect the 8 seasons with different archetypes so that we can really work with them in a more intangible and subtle way, because each season is a literal thing that we can experience with our senses and see and feel and have the changes happen, and the different foods that are available, the different flowers that are growing. And they're also very intangible. There's aspects that are quite energetic, and there's these flavors and these invitations that each holds for us. And as we've been talking about in the group recently, in this community, the day also holds all of these seasons. So there's all of these layers that are happening in the day, in the greater year, in our life cycle. So some of us are in the kind of summer, late summer of our lives, then we'll go into the autumn phase later, and then the winter before we leave this body. So if that's new to you, I have so many things I have shared over the years that you can explore. So this time on our wheel is related to the Death Doula archetype. And this is a guide who holds space for endings and transformation and releasing, giving very intentional and conscious death to that which is ready to go. So as we move through this season, we're invited to reflect on what we're ready to let go of. And this isn't just about releasing the old for ourselves. It's really a wonderful opportunity to honor our ancestors and examine the cycles that we have inherited, those that we wish to carry forward, that we are celebrating, that we love, and those that are maybe a bit challenging, a bit problematic, that we are reminded we've got the power to break, to rewrite, to let go of, to transmute. So today we're going to get into a bit about ancestral healing and what it means, how to go about it, and really new ways of thinking about ancestors in a very broad sense. So that's where we're headed today. I am Devin, and as I said, it's an honor to gather here with you to share. I'm an integrative health expert and an Ayurvedic health advisor and a holistic life coach. And my mission in life is to teach folks how to live nature's wisdom and rhythms, to deepen into their journeys of healing and self-discovery so that they can create unshakable resilience and vibrant health and joy and really live their lives fully. And a huge part of my own personal why this feels like it wants to come through and be shared is to touch as many legacies and lineages as possible so that this rewriting, this ancestral healing, these new ways can be created. So that's been a huge part of my own journey and my own story, and a huge part of why I do what I do. So that just felt like an extra little nugget I wanted to share in alignment with today's topic. Have you ever noticed that health struggles seem to run in families? That's like the thing that we say and that we hear. Oh, this runs in my family. Oh, that runs in their family. It's not a matter of if I'm going to get that, it's when, referring to whatever chronic disease. It's this belief that it runs in families and that the body just is wired that way, and there's nothing we can do about it, and that these things are just kind of fate. And so it doesn't just have to be physical issues. Of course, that's what we kind of refer to a lot. There can be emotional issues or specific habits or behavioral traits, addictions, tendency towards, anger, or all of these different things. And it's easy, again, to look at this and be like, oh, it's genetics, it's fate. But it's not that simple. It's not just these genes that we blame things on that just oh, they just come and then that's it. And like, you know, it's just the way it is. We inherit ways of eating and moving and thinking and coping and being that support those genes in then expressing themselves. So it's a little bit of a, not my favorite quote. I need to come up with a better way of saying it that's less violent sounding, but it's that genetics loads the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger. So just because something is there, there's a propensity towards something, that's not actually it. We have inherited everything else that supports that in coming into fruition. So we inherit not just the genes, but the things run in the families and then express themselves because we are mostly also all sharing the same diet, the same lifestyles, the same beliefs, the same perspectives of the world, all of these subtle inputs that then dictate our behaviors and our habits and our choices that then show up in our lives. So, you know, we hear like families, oh, they don't manage money well. Everyone in that family's poor, or everyone in that family is an alcoholic. And it's, again, it's all of these subtle things that we've inherited, those things that we can't see, like beliefs and perspectives, how we respond or react to life, that then dictate how everything else then organizes itself to uphold that that belief and that legacy of whatever the thing is. So these things don't have to dictate our lives or limit them in any way. And this season of Samhain, so remember, we're talking like these literal things, these literal expressions of seasons and, oh, the pumpkins and we're going to change our diets and seasonal eating, yes. And there's also, again, this deeper nuanced aspect that's here for us. And so we can like look at nature. And for example, the trees are shedding their leaves. Those leaves are then feeding the soil to make new leaves. So that ancestral cycle of the trees is continuing. And so what are we feeding our roots? What are we feeding our next expression of ourselves? Because those leaves are feeding the next leaves. And so what am I feeding or being fed that's going to support the next version of myself, the next chapter of my life, the next person I am becoming? Right? Because we're not the same person we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We're not going to be the same person 5, 10 years from now. So this season of Samhain invites us to honor our lineage while also acknowledging that we have the power to create a new path and feed new inputs to get new outputs. We can look at the cycles that we've inherited and ask ourselves really courageously and honestly, like, which patterns support us and which are holding us back. Before we go any further, I really love this perspective that I want to share with you, is that ancestors are more than just our like blood relatives. And I think a lot of us go straight to that. So I'd love to ask you, when I say ancestors, you say, no, I'm kidding. When I say ancestors, what comes up for you? What do you think? You know, and most of us go straight to like, oh, my parents, my grandparents, the people that have come before me. And yes, totally. And like, thank goodness for them, the people that have come before us who like have literally made our bodies. It's just like this beautiful, long, continual legacy. When I think about it, sometimes I cry. It's just so mind-boggling, this whole great mystery that we're part of. It's just like, what? So yes, and these ancestors also include the earth, the elements, the rocks, and even our spiritual guides or our spiritual lineage, if that's something that resonates with you. I have one of my favorite little pieces here with me today to support while I'm here with you, a little piece of petrified wood that my daddy actually got for me. And it just felt very fitting. So it's here with us in this space, bringing in some of that earth, tree element and medicine and wisdom. Another way I really love to think about ancestors that I alluded to a little bit ago was that ancestors can be the past versions of ourselves. So just think about that for a moment. The past versions of yourselves. So those ones that got you to where you are today. Think about all the things that you have been through, all the times that you have been in some serious struggles, the courage that you've had to show. And that version of yourself had that in them to support you to get to where you are today, to become the person that you are today. So heck yes, they're an ancestor. So these all of these different ways that this can show up. And we can also honor the land, like I said, the earth, the wisdom of the earth, and of course those ones that are directly, in our blood, those that have come before us. And maybe not necessarily in our blood per se, but those that have greatly impacted us, raised us, molded us, shaped us, influenced us. We can appreciate the wisdom that they've handed down while also being willing to acknowledge their shortcomings. And in my work with people, when they're making changes, a big thing that comes up is, this isn't how I was taught. This wasn't what was modeled to me. This isn't familiar. I'm doing something different than what my family did or does. And it can be really challenging for a lot of people to make that change, to kind of step away from those cycles. And it can be, sorry, the wind just opened my door and it distracted me and I lost my train of thought. Wowzers. So we can, we can honor the both, right? We can appreciate the wisdom that our ancestors have handed down to us while also being willing to admit that some of those things don't work for us. So we can both celebrate the positive, helpful qualities that we've inherited and also be like, you know what, some of that stuff didn't work or it doesn't feel good and I need to do something differently, and let that be okay. So there's room for both. And again, that can be challenging for us for a variety of reasons. If there's a lot of hurt and suffering in our lineage, it can be hard to see the positive. And if there's maybe some shame or some guilt around like taking them off of a pedestal, it can be really challenging to try to want to do something differently and to make change. So we're not holding resentment, we're not placing blame, we're not like picking, like I have to stay with this or I have to do something else. Like there's room for all of it. There's room for all of it. We don't have to deify our ancestors and be afraid of admitting to ourselves that the ways they may have caused harm or left us with some toxic things to clean up. And we don't have to get stuck in the anger. And what we can do is to honor them by making better choices for ourselves. Because ultimately what I believe is when it's all said and done and we all get to the core of who we are, whether we're still in this body or we've moved on from it, I think that we all want the best for ourselves and for each other. So this is what it means to evolve, to take what's useful and to leave the rest, and to bring the trees back into it. That's exactly what they're doing right now. It's time to shed those leaves. Those leaves can be, again, traits, behaviors, patterns, ways of eating, ways of not taking care of yourself, beliefs. And you can let that feed, nourish the new growth moving forward. Yeah. So this is the courageous work of healing our lineage, because we are not the products of like some isolated thing, we most of us, I can't speak for everyone in the world, but I'm imagining those of you listening and watching and here with me and myself included, like I wasn't hatched in a lab and like raised in a controlled setting with no influences. We are the products of a lot of input, a lot of influence, a lot of different influence. And there's nature versus nurture we're all familiar with. And so, yeah, there's a lot here, and a lot that we can courageously look at and take what we love and leave the rest, and begin to think and feel for ourselves outside of those influences, because a lot of that is just so deeply in there. And that's why it can feel like those things that we experience are just kind of fate, and we want to blame it on genes, because it's so deeply and unconsciously dictating things. So like, if you grew up in a family, we can come back to some more tangible examples of this. If you grew up in a family where processed foods were the norm, where movement wasn't prioritized, or where stress and emotional suppression were commonplace, it's natural to carry those patterns forward. And then how is that going to impact and dictate your experience of life? Because it touches everything. It's how we conduct ourselves in the world. It's how we do or do not care for ourselves. It's the choices we make, all of it, that really create our experience of life. And I've seen it in my own family. Emotional suppression and addiction were passed down like heirlooms, particularly on my mother's side. I don't know of anybody that did not or does not have or had a substance abuse problem. So this connection that we can see to these cycles, and this disconnection from self, and all of these ways that it perpetually showed up through the generations, it's like I never stood a chance. And so I followed early on in life with that family tradition, and eventually let go of it. So again, it's not like something that we're fated to. It can be really tough, really tough. And it doesn't have to be something as crazy as addiction. It can be, just being really prone to negativity, pessimism, and seeing only the negative things in life. Oh, I've seen that run in families where it's like everything's a catastrophe. Everything is negative. Everything has to be drama. If there's no drama, they don't know what they're doing with themselves. So all of these ways, and it's like we can start to see it, and then you can't unsee it. So just because we may have been taught or modeled one way does not mean that that's the only way. We are not stuck to it. We do not have to follow it. We are not like disowning the family or committing some crazy betrayal by choosing something differently. And the sad truth is, in some families, it will be seen that way, and there may be, the guilt and the shame associated with it that they're going to try to throw at you. I've seen that in a lot of my clients. But ultimately, this is your life, and you're in charge. And so this late autumn time and the Death Doula archetype remind us that we must honor the wisdom of those who came before us, while also breaking free from limiting cycles, because they will just continue. So imagine how powerful it is to be the one in your family who creates this shift, the one who chooses a new way of nourishing themselves, who models a balanced, grounded approach to life, and who rewrites the story. That's amazing. You could be opening up great opportunities and possibilities for other people to follow as well. And ultimately, we're talking a lot about lineage and like our family of origin, but like we're all each other's ancestors. We're all just one giant family. And so all of us, all the humans, all the plants, the animals, all of it. And so every time one of us chooses, we really open up that channel and kind of set that energetic permission, if you will, for other people to also do the same. And it really just starts with small intentional actions. So what do I mean by that? Begin this beautiful, courageous journey of self-inquiry. So examine the choices that you make in your daily life, particularly things around basic, essential self-care. Just getting right down to the roots, that taproot, because that's where a lot of this will show up, because it's very, very primal, very root chakra, if that kind of language resonates with you, if you know what I'm saying. It's that very like basic primal ways. So looking at those essentials, how are you being in your daily life? From the food you eat to how you rest, how you move, and all of those things, to what you wear, what products you purchase. I can remember many, many, many years ago when I was really changing and transforming everything, and not buying the laundry detergent, for example. I just kind of, from when I moved out by myself for the first time when I was in college, you know, it was like I do the same things. I didn't question it. And then started to change, and it felt a little weird. I felt like I was doing something wrong. Felt like I was doing something a little wrong for being different and breaking away from these ways that I was raised with. So yeah, what products you purchase, what you wear, how you care for yourself, are these your own conscious choices, or are these familial habits? Try to say that 3 times fast. Familial habits that you've just never defaulted from. And then you can examine the behavioral traits that you may have inherited, the mindset and perspectives and beliefs, how you respond to stress, how you cope with discomfort in your life, how emotionally in touch with yourself you are, if there are certain emotions that you're like not okay with, what you do when things get tough and uncomfortable. What beliefs have you inherited around wealth and health, what it means to be successful in life? And are these beliefs supportive, or do they push you towards perfectionism, guilt, or shame, or even just being somebody that you're just not, you know? And again, none of this is an either or thing. There's so much there's so much room for all of it. This isn't about making the others like wrong and like, oh, you did this to me, I inherited this belief from you. For a lot of my life, I thought this was my belief, I thought I had to be like my dad, who, bless him, I am so grateful for him, is such a fiery leader, driven, if you speak Ayurveda, the epitome of Pitta, the archetypal Pitta. And I thought that I had to be that too. And there's nothing wrong, because he's being the best version of himself, but that's not me. And trying to be that actually harms me, harms my health, harms my well-being, harms my sense of sanity. So by becoming aware of these inherited beliefs, you give yourself the chance to let go of what no longer serves you, and the ability, the opportunity to get clear about like, who am I and what do I want, and what truly authentically supports my growth and my well-being and my unique expression of myself in the world, without trying to be somebody I'm not, or without holding on to ways that are not mine. So moving from this kind of attachment and this fear to more love. And I really believe that's the kind of transformation that our ancestors would want for us, even if the toxicity that they may be dealing with prevents them from expressing or articulating that at this time. And additionally, you know, life can be really chaotic, and we inherit stress responses from our families. We've talked about that a little bit today so far. So maybe that tendency to react to things with pessimism or drama or chaos. And so, yeah, how do you handle stress? Something I saw, like I said, with my family, especially the mother side, was we smoke cigarettes and we drink. That's how we do things. And again, instead of carrying any of that forward, wherever those things fall, if they don't feel good, you get to change that. You get to create daily rhythms that bring peace. You get to create a life that supports who you are. Yeah. Setting a new standard for how you live and how you care for yourself, and being an embodiment of that. Being an inspiration to others. That's the best way to show gratitude to the ancestors, especially those that have maybe wanted to in their lives, didn't get to. You're breaking that cycle, and it's so powerful. So beautiful. So setting that new standard for how you live and care for yourself, how you honor yourself, how you live in alignment with these beautiful natural cycles of the earth, of life. Yeah, good stuff. So celebrate all that was wonderful that has been modeled and shown to you, and then have the courage to also choose new, more supportive ways of being in life if what you're currently doing isn't working for you, as evidenced by, any health issues that you're experiencing, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, anything in your life that isn't working, relationships that are sucking, having a hard time setting boundaries, like things that just aren't feeling good, that you feel stuck in. There's your guide, your clue. That's your entry point to get into that. And imagine the impact of these small shifts, not just on your life, but on future generations. Truly, you're setting a wonderful example. You're giving yourself, your family, your global family. Like I said, we're all connected. We're all each other's ancestors. You're giving this example of a foundation of health and resilience and joy and authenticity to build on. So go look at the trees shedding their leaves and be reminded that transformation is sacred. It's necessary. It's about both honoring the past and embracing the future, respecting the traditions of your family, respecting and honoring what did feel so good and nourishing, and then also evolving into you and who you truly are, creating new ways of being for a healthier, more vibrant life. So as we close, I'd love for you to reflect on how can you honor your ancestors by forging a healthier path forward? And how can you take the best of what you've inherited, release what no longer serves, and create a new cycle of health and well-being for yourself and those who come after you? It's so powerful. Oh, thank you for being here with me today, for tuning in. I hope that this has sparked something within you, maybe a reminder that you have the power to shape your own life, a reminder to honor your ancestors and think about your ancestors in a new way, and that you have the ability to create a brighter, healthier future. So let's use this season, this late autumn time, and the Death Doula's wisdom to embrace our power to transform and heal and grow. And I'd love to continue this conversation with you in the Naturally Resilient and Thriving community. So share any insights and questions and all the things. And if you would like additional support, I invite you to look into my program, the InnerSpark Method Everyday Rhythms, and or working with me individually. And you can learn all the things, all the ways at innerspark.life. And with that, I will see you next time.